died at 100 years old? War criminal? Bane of the Third World? Born in Fürth, Germany, and fleeing the iron fist of the Third Reich to the hallowed halls of Washington's power, Henry Kissinger is a name that echoes with controversy. In the oppressive shadow of Nazi Germany's ascent, young Henry Kissinger slipped away, narrowly evading the clutches of one regime only to align with its adversary. The refugee becomes the soldier for the very power opposing his homeland. His military career started with his conscription into the US Army, leveraging his native tongue within the counterintelligence corps as both weapon and olive branch. As a CIC operative, his fluency in German wasn't just a linguistic skill, it was a potent tool in Kissinger's role as an intelligence gatherer. Interrogating prisoners, he employed his skill set, extracting vital information from those who shared his motherland's tongue, as well as identifying spies. Witnessing post-war Germany's reconstruction, however, Kissinger found himself amidst the rubble of his own past, contributing to the rebirth of a society he had been forced to flee. Rising to the rank of sergeant taught him the nuanced art of leadership amidst chaos, a skill that would later underpin his political sagacity. Awarded the Bronze Star, this accolade spoke volumes of his bravery, a herald of his potential for future governance. Post-discharge, the GI Bill paved his way from military ranks to academic halls, where military strategy translated into diplomatic finesse. As we navigate the labyrinthine paths of Kissinger's career, we encounter controversy, where the shadows cast are as substantial as the accolades. It's in these depths we find decisions shrouded in secrecy, where the geopolitical chess game played out far from the public eye, and where the consequences still ripple through time. The Cambodia conundrum stands as a stark embodiment of this. Beyond the public's gaze, the Vietnam War bled into Cambodia, sidestepping both borders and congressional approval. The scale of this covert operation was massive, the impact on Cambodia's physical and societal structures devastating, despite its primary focus being the VC presence near the border with Vietnam. The extensive bombing campaigns, for example, left staggering human and political toll. These shadowy actions inadvertently paved the way for the Khmer Rouge's ruthless rise to power, prompting us to question the true price of such warfare. As a man adorned with the Nobel Peace Prize, Kissinger's paints a complex portrait of a figure who is also labeled by some as a war criminal. History's lens is unforgiving, however, often casting long shadows over the legacies of those who orchestrate warfare from behind closed curtains. Kissinger was a proponent of realpolitik, with a deftness that blurred the lines between national interest and moral oversight. His chessboard spanned continents, with pieces moved by pragmatism above all else in pursuing his objectives. This was the realpolitik rationale, to prop up regimes as bulwarks against the red tide of communism, irrespective of the iron grip these leaders held over their people. Kissinger's shadow looms large over Latin America. In Chile, Argentina and beyond, his name is woven into the fabric of their histories, a thread that tugs at the legacy of US foreign policy. Aligning with oppressive regimes was a calculated gamble, a bid for geopolitical advantage, yet this alliance came with a heavy price, the corrosion of international reputation and the igniting of ethical debates that still burn hot today. The fall of Salvador Allende's democratically elected government and the subsequent rise of Augusto Pinochet's authoritarian regime signaled a drastic shift in Chile's political trajectory. The extent of Kissinger's involvement in orchestrating or facilitating these events has been the subject of much debate and analysis, revealing a multi-layered strategy aimed at stemming the tide of communism in the Western Hemisphere. The repercussions of the coup were far-reaching, impacting not only the fabric of Chilean democracy, but also the broader landscape of human rights in the region. The international community responded with outcry and condemnation, casting a dark stain on America's image as a champion of democratic ideals. This episode compels us to evaluate Kissinger's strategic objectives against the backdrop of the humanitarian crisis that ensued, probing the moral dimensions of foreign policy decisions. The outcome is well known, however: suppression of certain human rights, political views, and a penchant for having communists thrown from helicopters. Transitioning to the Surveillance Saga, we are confronted with another contentious aspect of Kissinger's tenure: the wiretapping of government officials and journalists. This initiative, framed as a necessary step for national security, brings into sharp focus the tension between the government's duty to protect its citizens and its obligation to uphold civil liberties. In an era marked by profound domestic and international turmoil, these actions sparked a fierce debate over the boundaries of governmental power and the sanctity of individual privacy rights. The implications of this surveillance, both legal and ethical, reverberated through the Nixon administration and left a lasting impact on public discourse around government surveillance practices. Henry Kissinger's schemes stand out for their far-reaching impact and complexity. His approach to thawing the icy relations between the United States and China during the Cold War was a masterstroke of strategic foresight. Kissinger, envisioning the immense potential of engaging with an isolated yet powerful China, meticulously planned secret negotiations. These covert discussions laid the groundwork for President Nixon's groundbreaking 1972 visit, an event deftly orchestrated by Kissinger. This diplomatic pivot not only transformed Sino-American relations, but also significantly shifted the global power equilibrium. The repercussions of this ping-pong diplomacy were felt acutely, from the Kremlin to the jungles of Vietnam, altering the course of the Vietnam War and challenging Soviet geopolitical dominance. On the home front, this marked shift in US foreign policy elicited a spectrum of reactions, illustrating the boldness of Kissinger's vision in redefining international alliances. The intricate Paris Peace Accords, where Kissinger played a crucial role, exemplify the complexities of negotiating peace in the midst of conflict, eventually culminating in a ceasefire agreement. However, the effectiveness and durability of this truce were subjects of intense scrutiny and debate. The decision to award Kissinger the Nobel Peace Prize amid ongoing hostilities in Vietnam sparked a widespread dispute on the morality and ethics of recognizing peace efforts in the midst of unresolved conflict. The impact of these accords on Vietnam, Southeast Asia, and broader US foreign policy is still felt to this very day, though less so now that the USA and Vietnam are military allies. Kissinger's pivotal involvement in the Saltai negotiations also showcased his ability to navigate treacherous waters of the nuclear arms race. His strategic balancing act between détente and rigorous negotiation led to the landmark Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty. This agreement not only marked a crucial step in nuclear disarmament, but also eased superpower tensions. The domestic and international response to the Saltai Treaty highlighted its critical role in preventing nuclear annihilation and setting a precedent for future arms control discussions. Meanwhile, in the complex landscape of Middle Eastern politics, Kissinger's shuttle diplomacy following the Yom Kippur War was a display of nuanced political maneuvering. His efforts in brokering disengagement agreements between Israel, Egypt, and Syria were crucial in de-escalating tensions in a region marked by historic and deep-seated conflicts. His diplomatic endeavors in this region laid the groundwork for subsequent American involvement in Middle Eastern peace processes, including the significant Camp David Accords. Kissinger's strategies and policies in the Middle East remain resoundingly controversial. However, this being summarized by this exchange with Golda Meir, then Israel's Prime Minister: "I am an American first, Secretary of State second, and a Jew third," said Kissinger, to which Meir replied, "In Israel, we ready from right to left." In all, Kissinger's legacy is a controversial one, marred by accusations of war crimes, espionage, corruption, and today's bleak geopolitical outlook.